On this channel, we show different ways that folks are living or working within a more communal setting, from our own decisions to co-house together at Flock, to 230 families living within a cooperative at the Eco Village at Ithaca. Another approach is through the development of something called pocket neighborhoods, which is a type of planned community that has smaller residences around a courtyard or some type of shared space. One of the pioneers of pocket neighborhoods in the area is Sue Cosentini, who developed the Aurora Pocket Neighborhood and is now in the process of developing the much larger Amabel Pocket Neighborhood about a mile from downtown Ithaca.
I wish we didn't have the heavy equipment in our way, but...
Well, you know what? It just shows that it's a work in progress, honestly. Yeah. So, Sue, tell me a bit more of your background, because you didn't start in carpentry, did you?
No, I went to Cornell.
Yeah.
I was an animal science major, but mostly I played sports.
Yeah.
Mostly I competed on, I'm actually up there at...
You're lettered, right? You have like a nice little plaque for yourself.
That's
there.
right, how'd you know? That's right. So I competed in 2 sports in the same season.
Yeah.
Ice hockey and swimming, which is very unusual. So I had 2 practices a day. So I just was training all the time and super physical. And my boyfriend that I met playing rugby suggested that I work for him.
Yeah.
And as soon as I found out it was very physical and outside, I was like, sign me up, and then I became addicted.
Yeah.
Now, back when I started, it wasn't like it is now. You actually used a hammer.
Yeah.
Now you don't. You use a pneumatic gun, which is way more fun. A hammer, you know, everything was just hand drives, and that's more, it's more seductive than it is
like
now.
You were like, if you were working when you were training, that's like another training session.
Yeah. It's a great way to stay in shape to some degree.
Yeah.
But then I got addicted to it, and
so he was doing construction then?
Yeah, he was doing construction, so he invited me. I really sucked in the beginning, except for love the physical stuff, but I didn't know shit.
Yeah.
And then I just stuck it out.
That's amazing.
And I, stuck it out, and then once I had 2 kids, it, when you're on your own business, it allows for a certain level of flexibility. So I persevered despite, it's pretty difficult, this business, It's not, the margins are really tiny, but it's really fun.
How did you come up with the ethos? And tell me what your ethos is, just to give people a sense of like, your building ethos, and then place us where we are here, so people get context.
Well, for me, I grew up being a remodeler after getting out of Cornell. I was a remodeler, and we built new construction too, and that was just standard stick framing. And back then it was just fiberglass. It wasn't high-performing homes like we do now. And then I graduated, I built the Aurora Pocket Neighborhood, and those are high performing. Then found this piece of property, and both of them are arranged around a common courtyard. That one much more diminutive, because it's in a city environment. Out here, I'm in the town of Ithaca, just outside the city line, and it's like ex-urban, so I could aggregate the houses around a bigger common courtyard, and that's what we've done here. The houses kind of circle around this big courtyard in the center, which right now has construction roads in it, obviously. But that'll be a big community garden right off of the barn. And we'll have these lovely groves, and it'll just be this community space. All the houses face out onto it. We're walking through 3 houses right now, and they will also look out onto it with their porches.
Meaning that there will be more houses here?
Right here, yeah.
Okay. So how many houses are going to be here totally?
30 total houses.
Okay, and then does this then comprise like a neighborhood, or do you refer to it as a neighborhood?
Yeah, we refer to it as a pocket neighborhood, actually.
Pocket neighborhood, okay.
And that's a model that was brought to sort of salience through Ross Chapin with his lovely sort of coffee table book called Pocket Neighborhoods. Pocket neighborhoods have sort of emerged from various configurations over the centuries in some regards, that then got called that, even though they were sort of social housing at first. Mm-hmm. And then they got gentrified, and now they are around a common area. And that's all that really designates a pocket neighborhood, is that it's configured, arranged around a common space, which doesn't have vehicles in it, which is really, really lovely, right? These people and kids and everybody can enjoy this space without vehicles. Your classic suburban, right, has the road in front of you.
Right.
this has been a difficulty here for semantic. People are like, that's the front of the house. I'm like, no. The front of the house is towards all the site work contract. They keep calling the back of the house the front of the house because it's on the roadside.
Right.
It's a really interesting, I go, no, why would you call that the front of the house? This is the front of the house, looking out on this beautiful space.
Yeah.
That's the mechanical end of the house. And nobody cares about that side. And so that's been kind of interesting to watch the inculcation in people and how it's been kind of difficult to get them to wrap their heads around this organization. And to me, it's just so much more lovely than the standard model. So that's the idea. And we're going to put a big garden in. Obviously, it'll be organic by default. We'll bring in a bunch of soil for it. And I'll put a big deer fence around it, like you have to do. Like you guys are probably finding out.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And I want to build it so it's pretty. So I have some research to do on how to keep them away without having it have like big old flags hanging off of it.
Yeah, that's really lovely that you're going to basically this area is going to inhabit like a garden that then people could contribute to that are here.
Yeah, the garden will be designed around everybody's interests. I mean, I'll make it so it's suitable for 30 plots, and everybody will have their own plot. For the most part, we're not going to try to have conversations, rather arguments about who did what weeding.
Yeah.
Not going there. You can have your own plot or not and take care of it. And if somebody lets theirs, go to weeds and it starts to infest other ones, we'll have to have a conversation about that as it is.
Yeah, because it's not exactly communal living, but there's community to it.
That's right.
Right?
It's highly intentional to not have some of the encumbrances associated with co-housing that can be rather expensive. First of all, the common house. And also just some of the social structures that are in place that results in kind of a sort of overwhelming kind of chronic sense of obligation. I did not want any of that.
Right. And you oftentimes will then get more bureaucracy that comes with it as well. And plus you're dealing with the fact that most of the people probably buying the homes here, right, are not related or don't know one another, right? And they'll come and go. Right?
Well, they are all going to stay. A lot of people are retired, so they're going to stay for kind of the duration.
Know each other. Is
they
what
don't.
I'm saying.
However,
it's not like they're coming in as a bunch of friends in a co-housing.
Right. We have two houses that are really close friends.
Oh, that's cool.
They actually vacation together. But I have set up social network systems where people are meeting each other.
Nice.
And we've had a couple potlucks, and they're all on Zulip. We're all on Zulip together.
Yeah.
And I introduced everybody in my Slack workspace at first. And so people are having dialogue right now. Like we've all decided to have no pesticides already, and things like that. So people are dialoguing with each other. So I am trying to get them I found that out the hard way on my first neighborhood.
Yeah.
That I really want people to get to know each other a bit better before they move in.
Got it.
So we are doing some of that, and we're going to do more. As people get on site, we are doing things like we go down to the brewery and have a little dinner together, and that's really nice at the brewery because it's so close.
And so when folks are here and they're considering a space like this, what do you say to them? Like, what do you preempt them in any kind of way?
Yes, I do. You mean when people are coming,
interested,
when I'm taking them on tours?
Yeah.
I tell them that the houses are nested. Okay, so our houses are nested. And they're nested in order that they have a shared pathway, and that's intended to create some level of sociality, not at the level of co-housing where it's like a lot more common pathways and a lot more, they have perimeter parking in co-housing, so you're forced to walk to your unit, and in the process of walking to your house, you run into a fellow resident and you have a dialogue. So these do have a common walkway. In order to encourage that, I introduce them to that, and then I tell them the basic demographics, everybody here, so they can kind of know how comfortable they are with the people here, but most people, a lot of people from out of state came here because they know Ithaca, they researched Ithaca, and they're like, I'm going there.
Yeah, and so and then the idea too, like in some ways, like the houses are, like you said, nested together. They're kind of close. I think some people when they move to, like you said, this is more like kind of suburban, previously urban, but when they're moving more towards the countryside, there's countryside around, people are like, ooh, that's almost too close. Do you get folks like that as well?
Yeah, particularly in your male type of the species. But at the same time, they have this huge area in front of them. But a lot of people are interested in that relationship basis for navigating life. Like, let's say you want to go away. I'll watch your cat. You know, really easy. It's just, I'm right there, so
Yeah.
you can come, you know, the cat can come right to my house, or I can go over there easily. So there's a lot of that, and just taking each other's back. Like somebody falls down, somebody's right there to help them.
Yeah.
Take somebody to the hospital, take them to the airport, that kind of thing. So people are interested in that. So I really tried to orchestrate it and design it in a way where you had both that and privacy.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a bit of something to navigate.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
to
like
make
a
those
fine line to walk
Right.
on, because different people have different ideas of privacy, and I think some of us tend to glom onto the things that may be on the negative side of being a little bit too close, you know, to another person, whereas there's a lot of positive benefits as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't forget that this is a very unique site because we're on the Black Diamond Trail. So you can walk to town from here, and you can just go down here, and you don't even have to go on the road. And you can also get to the waterfront trail really easily. So your capacity to get to what's called a third place is really enhanced here, as opposed to really being rural, because we're really not rural. It just looks rural.
It looks rural.
Because we're 1 mile from downtown.
Right.
You know, really close to the West End. So it's easy to get places. I feel like you can feel really isolated in a rural environment. So here, let's say you're annoyed at something, there's always somewhere to go. Plus we have that huge woods over there. And
Yeah, and then what's this building like right here? This looks
is
like something that was originally here.
it is the original
Yeah.
barn. I did have to move it there.
Oh, you actually lifted that up and moved
we
it.
skidded over here on I-beams. It was quite something.
Wow.
This little barn is just about the cutest thing.
It's so adorable.
Yeah, so I could not let it go. It even has some hand-hewed beams in it, and it's really well constructed.
Is it something that we could look into?
It's got a huge amount of construction crap in
Okay.
it, but yeah.
It's really adorable. I love
I
the
love
shape
it.
of the roof
Yeah.
too.
Well, that's the quintessential barn.
Yeah.
You know, that's the gambrel roof that you are expecting on a barn.
Yeah.
And I was here, and I just felt I was in love. And it's going to be our garden barn. I'll bring water and electricity.
It looks like a little gingerbread barn house.
I know, it's so cute. It's crazy. I still got some repairs to do to it,
Yeah. It's great though to have a barn, you know, just to store your stuff because you're
Yeah.
constantly working here.
And once
Yeah.
all our construction stuff is out, we'll store all the garden stuff in here.
Yeah.
I'll probably bring water. I'll put water outside, electricity into it, and we'll bring the kayaks in here if we want to.
I mean,
Upstairs
this is
we
great.
can put winter tires and that kind of thing, because we have a whole second floor that's really nice.
Yeah, and it looks like the birds already.
Oh, that's
got their
old.
nest
I don't
in
think
here.
they're coming in anymore, but they were. It was for horses. This was a horse pasture.
So wait, did you
yeah,
have to?
I poured that.
You poured the cement, okay? Because I was like, you moved it, but then there's.
Oh no, we poured that first. That's a giant thick slab. Yeah, we poured this, and then we skidded over here, and we dropped it onto the big beams that we put in here.
And now you obviously were, you know, constructing this neighborhood in midst of the pandemic when supply chain was just going all over the place and mostly up. What are some of the struggles and the challenges that you had to deal with price considerations and everything for supplies here during that time?
We had to manage the price lumber particularly increase, and just people had to incur that. Wherever we could, we ordered things really far in advance, because as soon as we sign your contract, it takes 10 months to get your house. Not because it takes that long to build a house, it's because the queue is so long. So we have a lot of time to get materials in advance and really kind of get them in bulk. So my builder did a lot of that. So that helped mitigate that for a while. But the lumber prices, people had to bite the bullet. But most of the people that got in early got such a great reduction just by being early adopters,
Right.
that I don't think it resulted in that much.
Do you think it was easier for you to sell the concept of this after doing the Aurora Pocket Neighborhood?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
The proof of that was like the proof of concept in some respects, and I think that made at least the first 6 or 7 people a lot more comfortable, because they were buying in before there was anything. There wasn't even infrastructure. You know, there's nothing here. So knowing that I had built that, I'm sure that made a huge difference.
Yeah.
And I mean, knowing that I've been doing this for 30 years probably contributed to it. But the fact that you could look at progeny on the ground over there, I'm
Right.
sure that was helpful. Yeah.
Right. And then tell me a bit about the design of this, because it's really nice. You have this kind of porch out front so people could be facing the communal space, the common area. And then it has this, I don't even know what you'd call that structure.
It's a gable end detail, but it actually is structurally, it's not like faux.
Yeah.
It's necessary to hold up that roof extension. I just looked at some plans and played around with some designs. I knew I wanted this porch, obviously facing this space in order that you can really enjoy it. And you're constantly working to get marketability and cost effectiveness.
Right.
So you're constantly working with those. And I also knew I didn't want drywall. So we have this nickel gap finish in these places.
Interesting.
Which is a different. We'll take you into a couple houses.
Yeah. And is this kind of like a board and batten style, or is it true board and batten?
That's an LP product.
Yes, I've seen this.
Yeah. So it's those are 16-inch boards.
Yeah.
So it really is board and batten. It's just not hemlock.
Yeah. Yeah.
3/4 of an inch.
That
it's
is something
3/8.
that we actually looked into, the LP product for potentially for one of the ones that we were looking at. Much cleaner,
Yeah, you mean than using real wood?
Yes.
It also doesn't rot.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Which is a little bit better. And you can get a finish on it, pre-finished, although that's a little bit better on the clapboard because this finish isn't applied as a baked on. But yeah, it's a great product.
Yeah.
I kind of hate that it's Louisiana Pacific, but that's the Koch brothers.
But you have to make these decisions, right, when you're building these homes.
Yeah. It's tough making all these decisions because whereas you want to, engage in some level of environmental and social justice, then, the cost effectiveness gets insane. And that means marketability goes down.
Yeah. And then, obviously if you wanted to make this like super airtight and, the best of the best on the sustainability standpoint, you could price yourself out of the market.
Oh yeah, those are only custom homes nowadays.
Yeah.
You're not doing a development like that, I don't
Right.
think. So these houses are really tight. They have a flash and bat system in them, so that means there's 2 inches of 2-pound spray foam on the outside, and then fiberglass or Roxol on the rest of the 2x6. And then some of the houses are opting for the 2-pound in the attic. So they're pretty high performing. One lady said that she ran her air conditioner all last summer with her doors open to her screened-in porch, and she was only $50 a month.
Wow.
So that's one of the smaller single stories that had that. So they're really performing quite well. We have an ICF foundation block that's all insulated down there. So I'm making them as tight as possible. I actually had to invent an intake air system for fresh air because they're so tight that we were getting carbon dioxide buildup, as well as condensation. So we mitigated that in sort of a creative system using the Panasonic Whisper Green fan. So you guys will want to learn about that. I can tell you about that.
Yeah.
I'll send you my white paper. But you gotta bring in fresh air.
Yeah.
And you got to have the fresh air.
Saunder's
You either do it with an
Saunder's
ERV.
been really focused on that.
Yeah.
We've been trying, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, I'll show it to you. I'll show you the little snoogelmophone that I put on the.
I don't even know what that is.
That's my own name. It's a Dr. Seuss name. Snoogelmophone, I call it. It's kind of like an earth tube. You
I
guys
should just
heard
be
about
like,
earth?
yeah, I totally know what she's talking about.
No. There's no way you should know. So this is our air intake.
Oh,
So this brings air directly to the air handler.
yeah.
And then what we've done is orchestrated it helps filter. So if you have dust on the road,
Right.
that gets filtered. Because what I'm trying to do here is make it so people don't have to go into their crawl spaces in order to change their air handler filter.
Yeah.
So they can just do it here. So this is bringing intake air in to the air handler, and that circulates it through the house. Now when the air handler's not running, the Panasonic fan is always running at 50 CFMs. It's got a motion sensor on her, so when a person goes in there to use the shower or whatever, it amps up to 80 CFMs until 1 hour past it doesn't see motion. They're brilliant. The Panasonic fan,
Yeah.
I'm very grateful to them. It makes it all. So what the expression for this system is a poor man's HRV. And studies have shown, and we did a study. Someone did the math, and the cost for what's called exhaust-only ventilation system relative to an HRV is only about $300 a year more in the added space heating load that's necessary because you're bringing cold air in. So that's not much.
Yeah.
And so most people have opted for that rather than spring for the 3,000 to 4,000 for an ERV.
Got it.
I shouldn't say HRV because they're not hardly used in our climate anymore. It's ERVs now.
It's nice to be able to actually touch this stuff and feel it, you know?
Yeah, it's
See
a
what
really,
it feels
it's a
like.
good product.
Yeah. Pretty amazing.
And you can see how crisp it looks,
As
you
you
know.
see, I see the deer just bounding over
There
there.
they are. They're like, when are you putting a garden in? Get going on that.
When can I move in? So, you know,
I'm thinking about planting apple trees out there, so like decoy.
Yeah, that would be.
I don't know.
Put all the deer plants out there.
Yeah.
No, they'll feed on them and they'll have more babies and they'll come in.
That's a good point.
I know. They'll be like, lots of food here.
Yeah. I'll defeat my whole purpose.
Exactly. So what are some of the things that, you know, you're building a development, you're building multiple homes, you could probably buy things more in bulk early on, but what are some of the considerations that you would have liked to do if like money was no object? Like what would have been the next thing that you would have liked to put in here in a communal pocket village?
Oh, well, I would have wanted to amp up the performance of the homes.
Okay.
Make them, you know, net zero.
Yeah.
Net zero without having a huge amount of arrays to get it to hit that. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
But that's a double stud wall. You know, it's a whole different, that's a bigger house. And so many, you know, you got to do the double stud for that pretty much. You got to get a thermal break on your roof and your walls and the whole 9 yards.
Oh, when you say a bigger house, does that mean
Because
like
of the double wall.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You got to, I mean, because of a bigger wall, and then you got to put an exterior thermal break on and a roof thermal break, the whole deal, you know, the whole passive house thing. Higher performing windows would have been cool. Just bigger houses would be, you know, my biggest desire would have been to produce a house that could have allowed for more families.
Right. So then are these more like 1 to 2 bedrooms?
They're all, you can get a big one. It's just
Yeah.
it gets up in the level where so many people that are young
Yeah.
with kids
Yeah.
can't afford.
Yeah.
So that's a fantasy.
Yeah.
You just asked me about a fantasy.
Yeah, that fantasy. That's what I want to hear.
That's a fantasy.
Because I do think that like a lot of folks, especially folks who are not renovating or are not building, don't realize or understand or comprehend the costs that are associated with it. And you know, we get a lot of folks, especially when somebody's designing a village or a pocket neighborhood or whatever it might be, you know, that you have to make some of those hard decisions. And it's like, well, is there opportunities for low or even middle income people for those types of things? And it's like, well, how do you have to build in order to do that? And do you have to get something subsidized from the government, whether it's a local or state or national government, in order to be able to make that work? And I think those are some of the challenges that I'm not even aware of. But I think that those are some real challenges that.
Oh yeah, developers and builders are up against that exact brick wall that you just, you know, rock and a hard place that you just kind of articulated with respect to producing what's called the missing middle, as well as anything that's median income, you know, and that's why those are subsidized.
Yeah.
They're either subsidized by the government or mom. And dad,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
in terms of helping young people get into homes like this.
Yeah.
Part of the reason I went to modular instead of stick was partially because of the labor shortage that is, you know, ubiquitous, especially here in upstate, but the country in general. Mm-hmm. But I also did it to help drive the cost down because I visited the plant and was just like, oh my God, there's no scraping of roofs in wintertime. Mm-hmm. And when they were putting the shingles on, the roof is flat because these roofs are hinged up. And they just put, you know, and I just watched them. Their bathroom was warm and toasty.
Yeah.
Their little lunch break room wasn't in the woods. And I was like, oh, we got to do that. Because that definitely saves on not having stick framing going on here. It also reduces the time frame. But that I was hoping would help with the cost factor. And it did. It's just not enough.
Yeah. Now, how does this differ from like, eco-village in the sense that like eco-village, they have to deal with their own, they have somebody to deal with their own snow removal and everything, and they pay into that. How does it work here? Does everybody just manage their lot, or are they even getting a lot? Do they buy a lot, or do they buy the house and like the rest is communal? Like how does that
Yeah, it's pretty simple. The co-housing is a cooperative land use model. So I think that they're only responsible to the outside of their wall and the top of their roof, right? It might be, a condo is inside, I think with the cooperative's outside. And then the cooperative takes care of the rest of the landscaping and that kind of thing. This is called fee simple, and that means your sovereign land is your parcel. So you're responsible for that. The co-op or the homeowners association, we got to flip names there, right? Is responsible for everything else, managing the road, managing the common spaces, the barn, the wastewater collection system, that kind of thing. That's all done by the HOA, and it's just a simple collection of fees.
Okay, so once you get
like the cooperative, they collect fees.
So once you get the lot, you own the lot, and you can buy and sell that lot.
You can buy and sell that lot, and you don't need to talk to anybody about it.
And you don't need to speak to the HOA. It could be anybody that can move in.
Yeah.
And then that person or people then have to be a part of the HOA.
Yeah, automatically.
Okay. Automatically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Homeowner associations are not uncommon, as you probably
of course,
know.
Yeah.
So once you buy
in
you're
the
part.
city, in New York City, there's like lots of HOAs.
And condos too,
Yeah.
And cooperatives.
Yes.
I mean, that's where they came from. That's why we were able to do them up here, is New York City made it happen for some reason.
Yeah.
You don't find them hardly anywhere else.
Yeah, community land trust as well. You could find that in the cities as well, which I thought was really interesting. There's lots of different models for living in the city, and then you could just like extract them to a less urban area.
Yeah, the lawyers have tried to extract them. Sometimes they run into difficulty, but that's what Eco Village is, the cooperative, and so then they have their common house, and that's the biggest distinction between this and a co-housing community is we don't have that common house. Our common house is the brewery.
and the land and the barn.
And I do hope to build a pavilion.
Yeah.
That we'll set up a bunch of tables in and we'll put some lights in it and we can have potlucks there and that kind of thing. Just a simple pavilion, no heat or anything, just wide open.
Like a giant gazebo.
Yeah. And that'll be shared. And we can. Your Wi-Fi will reach you out there, and you can work out there, and play checkers and eat food and all that good stuff, and be covered. And but we don't have an actual building, and that makes us not co-housing.
Yeah, interesting.
But we definitely have. I teach this communication workshop, and there's that modality that I'm attempting to employ here in order to create a level of relationship where people can not take things personally, like human beings are inclined to do with regularity, and that it means that there's sort of this tolerance and flexibility and fluidity to the relationships where you say, hey, you want to come over for dinner tonight, and I just had a shitty day, and I'm like, no, I'm not, I can't, no, and you don't feel rejected.
Yeah.
Because we've had enough of a relationship where you're like, oh, okay. All right, I'll ask you next Friday.
Yeah.
And you're not feeling so rejected. You're like, I'm never going to ask her for dinner again. You get that, like, it's not about you.
Yeah.
When I say what I say, it's not about you.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's part of the equation that I consider more of an accelerant to sociality than objects. Like the dynamics between humans, between us, I think fosters a closer relationship than a place we eat dinner at, that we can't hear each other talk, by the way.
I just think this conversation is so wonderful because if people are kind of already picking this up, if you haven't already, I mean, you are here, like we even met you were there like knocking off the metal, like you're building this, you're helping design and build this, you're overseeing it, you're project managing it. These are not things that typical like contractors will talk about.
No.
You know what I mean? Like you're really thinking through how we interact, how we live, our relationship with our own environment, the vision of what's to come. Right now there's big machines here and there's sounds and things moving around and everything. And people were buying into the vision even before they actually saw all this come together. So it's such a wonderful experience.
I think sustainability has more to do with the dynamics between the people than not more to do, but just as much to do with the dynamics between people as it does the technology.
And the environment, just your relationship with the environment
Yeah.
around you. Like you said, that we're kind of in an urban area, but it feels rural because of the way that it's like
Yeah.
enclosed. Hey there. The way that it's
Hey, Polly.
enclosed, like in with the forest, and the fact that you can get to town through the Black Diamond Trail and take a walk, take a nice leisurely stroll like through the trail. So
The other
nice.
cool thing I should point out to you guys that we did here, and I kind of did it as part of aging in place considerations, but it resulted in this really wonderful experience inside the homes, which is because I've sunk them into the earth so much. There's this wonderful, and hopefully you'll feel it when you go in here. You know how in the urban environment you've got to be elevated?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm sitting at my kitchen table and you walk by and you're like looking me in the eyes, it's like shitty, Yeah. But here we don't have to be elevated at all.
Yeah.
And I can feel it in my house. Here we're in the earth, right? So it doesn't feel like you're dominating the environment. It's kind of dominating you, which is how it should be.
Yeah. Or it could feel like it's just giving you a hug.
It is.
You know what I mean?
And so because you're sitting there right in the earth, instead of 3 steps, even 2 steps, has you feel that distance from the earth. It is a different experience altogether. And one of the residents paid it the best compliment, and she's actually in Scotland right now, so we won't be able to talk to her. But she paid it the best compliment. She said, "This is the first house I've lived in where I don't constantly have a hankering to go outside relentlessly." Like every other house I've ever been in, I'm just always wanting to get outside. In this house,
Right.
I feel really comfortable inside. And hopefully, this is a house under construction. Obviously, we're going to visit some that aren't, but
Yeah. Oh, nice to see it come together. Look at the wide boards on the floorboards.
yeah. And this is the rigid core Sono Eclipse product. Are you at the dishwasher now?
Oh yeah.
Because you're right.
I love the wide overhang. It just makes you feel a little bit more, kind of protected, but like still out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and part of that is because, like I said, we're not elevated. And I had like multiple arborists come in and assess these hackberries to make sure that they're structurally capable of taking the excavation that had to occur near them, and so
Yeah.
that's able to stay there. Whereas most developers just tear that thing down, just take it right out.
Yeah.
And I just love this little grove.
I love it, and it's also hackberry is an incredible plant for native wildlife as well.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
nice that you're able to keep them.
Yeah, they're really an unusual tree, I guess,
Cool
around
bark,
here.
yeah, and cool bark, yeah.
They're really good in highly draining soils, which we have here.
That's interesting that you have highly draining soils here.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
This is called a hanging delta. One of the people that lives here or is about to live here explained to me, he's a geologist, and when the glaciers were going in and out, and they dumped a whole bunch of gravel. And it's called a hanging delta.
Huh. Interesting.
And it's all gravel, which is extremely unusual. I was
Yeah.
very grateful to find that because it's very structurally sound.
Well, and I also see that somebody already started planting their garden over there.
That just went in. The plantsman put that in nursery, and
Very
I think
nice.
those
So
are
it's probably
mostly
like a lot of
pollinators.
probably a lot of native plants as well.
Yeah, they're all
that's
native.
coming from
Everybody's
the
doing
plantsman.
native.
Yeah.
And she didn't want any grass. She's from Manhattan, and she's a lot about birds and insects.
Yeah.
Very much about birds and insects, so that's what that's about.
Yeah, me too. I'm building this garden only for specialist pollinators. Yeah.
Well,
Crazy like that.
A pollinator garden can be a source of entertainment. I was just at
Absolutely.
the Bari, the Insight Meditation. They have a beautiful pollinator garden, and I just sat there and massive hummingbirds.
I know.
And just all the different things, like large insects.
I know.
were coming. It was really fun.
There's so much activity.
Yeah.
And most of the time, and this is a challenge because, and I understand why we've moved this way through to gardening, but especially here with all the deer browse, deer like native plants.
Oh.
So that's why when somebody says, "Oh, I'm going to plant a deer-resistant garden," a lot of those plants are not native, and then so it doesn't attract as many of our specialist pollinators because they are not host plants for our insects here, and therefore you don't get a lot of birds because 96% of our birds rely on caterpillars, which need native plants, but the native plants are also deer food. So
wow.
that's why people, when they say, I'm going to plant a deer-resistant garden, oftentimes they bring in plants that are not native to the area because the deer don't know it and they don't eat it, but neither do the caterpillars, which then feed the food for the birds. So that's kind of the push and pull, and that's a lot of the decisions that people make in their own gardening. And I understand why, because they still want greenery and they don't want their like plants all nibbled on. Like we went out this morning and I planted a bunch of our native hydrangeas and clethra, which is summer sweet, and all the tips were nibbled off because we have one deer that was able to get into the fence area and she fawned, and we know that that's the deer, and they'll eat off the tops because they're browse. They'll just browse and they'll eat the tops off.
The tasty parts.
The tasty parts. The things that you would forage in the spring, you know? I mean, the little growing tips. So, but the non-native varieties, they didn't even touch. So,
no kidding.
Yeah.
You have a perfect little laboratory there.
Yeah, and so I think that's like some of our gardening choices. But when I started to plant more native plants, the amount of pollinators and specialists,
Is that right?
It's just so much more extraordinary. But then you have to contend with the deer.
Now, have you tried the Irish Spring method yet?
No, I have never even heard of that.
You
method.
haven't?
No, what is the
Well, I'll
Irish
have to take you down
I
here.
only know the Irish Spring soap.
Oh, I thought you people in plants all knew
No,
this.
what
I
is
didn't know
Irish
it.
Spring method?
I'll
No.
show it to you.
Okay.
Right down the road here, one of our residents, Ruth, has a lovely little installation that she did. And she's got little things hanging off of the plants. I was like, what's that? You know, in like stockings. And it's Irish Spring. Apparently, when I went to get some, because
Yeah.
I found a mouse in my house, and apparently it works for them too. They sell it in like big cases.
Irish Spring?
I feel like
Soap.
they figured out what
Soap.
people are doing with it.
Okay.
Yeah, Irish Spring soap. You just take the soap, you stick it in this like whatever nylon or something.
Yeah.
I'll show you now, and you hang it
Really? Like a pantyhose? And then
like
you
a, and it just hangs off your
soap and
plant.
pantyhose.
And I guess they hate the smell.
Oh my God. That's going to show you, don't use Irish Spring on yourself.
No. I think you can attract humans,
Maybe.
but deer will run away, and so will mice.
Maybe it smells like a hunter. The hunters all use Irish Spring.
Not after they've been out all morning.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I don't know. You'll have to try it. Do you have a laboratory there?
Yeah, interesting.
I heard it from her and somebody else about the Irish Spring idea, and I was like, oh, that'd be great if it worked.
See, this is how word gets around. One person used Irish Spring here, and then the whole town starts using Irish Spring.
Yeah, they're going to do well.
So how many houses actually are here that are going to be here finally? Like, what's
We have
the
10
final?
on site
Okay.
right now.
And then what's going to be the final?
30.
30?
Yeah.
Wow, so
I
that's
know.
huge. What was Aurora Pocket Village?
That was even closer, right? Because
Yeah,
that's an
but how-
infill. There were
how
just 4
many?
houses in there.
4. Okay, so it's 4, and this is 30. So that's a real ramp up for you.
Yeah, it's quite a ramp, but not. I mean,
Yeah.
not. I mean, really, the infrastructure is the hardest part of any development. The buildings are. I mean, after this many years of building,
Yeah.
buildings weren't hard.
Yeah.
Working with the clients and figuring out everything, the various options that they wanted, but the building's not hard. But the infrastructure, the water, the sewer, the road, the electric, all that good stuff.
And you really had to put that in here because that was non-existent.
Oh no, there's nothing here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this was an empty plot.
The
with
infrastructure
the
is what
barn?
really elevates the housing costs.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So this was an empty house with the barn.
That house
Okay, and that house.
and
right there.
this barn was way up by it. That's right. And then it was the rest that was 7 acres, and then the city had a little 3-acre parcel at the bottom here that I had to buy
Okay.
and conjoin.
And then now, what is that house going to be?
That's my house.
That's your house.
It is. I'm working on that house. But yeah, that's going to be my house.
Wow, that's cool. All
I
right.
was going to build one, but then I discovered how nice the southern light is up there.
Yeah.
But then I discovered how much I like these houses set in the earth, so I'm going to put an addition that's sunken.
Ah, I
Like
see.
the 70s conversation pit room.
Is there like a basement there?
Yeah, there is a
Okay.
basement in that house
Okay.
that I hope to turn into a root cellar.
Oh, that's cool. And then how old is that house?
That's like the 50s.
Okay, cool.
It needs everything.
Yeah.
It needs everything,
Yeah.
but it'll be fun.
That's wonderful. I mean,
I'm,
so you're actually going to be living here.
Yeah, I'm going to live here. Yep. I might if I do
cool.
another development from living here. I changed the entire layout because I saw how the light hits the land. And so I'm like, if I do another development, I'm going to have to get like a little Airstream and drive it to the site and live there for a year.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, even when we
makes a
were getting
huge
our
difference.
land, we were feeling where the light was, and seeing where the homes are already placed in the landscape is getting at the southern light. That's interesting that you said, that's how.
Yeah.
I would place these houses slightly differently if
Yep.
it was.
I had them aggregated in small pods, like pods of 5. And some of them had their backs to the sun in some respects. Like the porches weren't getting the light flooding in at the great optimal level that I could get by reorganizing them. And then I redid the whole layout. You know, everything in concept is good, but you got to be in context.
Yeah, absolutely.
Context makes a huge difference. And so once I hung out here, I thought when I moved from Fall Creek, I wasn't going to like it. I thought I was going to miss downtown, miss getting on my bike, miss, you know, just the ease of living in Fall Creek, which is super nice, right? But the quality of the light here, you know, and sitting out in the morning having my coffee was like, wow, no, I'm good. It was just so lovely, and it takes 2 seconds to jump on my bike and get downtown.
Right, that's true.
You know?
And it's probably healthier for you.
Yeah, well, then there's that. Yeah, I might have gone to the gym more when I went. But then I discovered, because we have these windrows that go east-west,
Yeah.
that the light coming across was like really flooding the whole parcel so nicely. And then I changed the layout, so everybody's porch would get light flooded all the time, or as much as possible.
Yeah. Well, that's just really lovely. And,
Yeah, it's really
now that I
cool.
know that you're actually going to be living here, I mean, the other thing too is that as you assess the interactivity of folks and, you know, how people get along or don't get along, or, you know, the things that you may change, because there may be things
Oh,
that
I know.
you change,
Yeah.
you know? You get to experience that, and then if you ever do another one, do you think you have another one of these in you?
I don't know. I'm still debating that. I've really enjoyed working with the builder I'm working with. Our relationship is just the most crystalline communication, which is so rare.
So rare.
And it's just really pleasant.
How did that happen?
Yeah,
rare.
it's so bizarre how rare that is.
Yeah.
But they're craftsmen, and I'm an old-time craftsperson, carpenter, you know, and and we just can have this like dialogue that's just really open and free, and that makes me feel like I should do another one, even though the hardest part isn't the building. It's the pre-development. It's working with the entitlements. That's the hardest part, getting it drawn, you know, all that stuff with the town that you're working in. But the town of Ithaca is by far the hardest to do that with.
Yeah, you might want to go a little on the hinterlands of the outskirts.
Yeah. Even another municipality, probably in New York State, wouldn't be.
And then is this land also part of the community, or is this
on the other
someone
side?
else's?
No,
Yeah.
that's cemetery land. So we're walking on house 23 right now.
Oh, we're on house 23.
I should take you down and show you two nested houses.
Sure, sure.
So and also so you can see the Irish Spring.
I would love to see the Irish. Love to see and smell the Irish Spring. So this is another housing plot. So this is basically
one
house,
house,
and house.
Right.
So they're really
these houses are
together.
nested.
Yeah.
So and the houses are designed with the mudrooms on the side, right? So the permeable or open side of the house is not on this side. So your yard side has your great room and the master suite.
Right.
So that's the master in this house.
Okay.
Right, and that's all on her yard side.
Right.
This shows how the houses look when they're nested. These two houses are obviously the only two we have on site that currently has their mate.
Yeah.
And so that's the common walkway.
And that's interesting. So the people who came in that are friends who vacation together, did they get kind of a house similar to that?
Well, they have two houses over there. Their houses are a totally different model.
Yeah.
This is the Tarn, and that's the Beck, sorry. This is the biggest one over here on the left.
Right.
This is the smallest one, and that just worked out that way.
Cool.
But that just shows you what happens on the nested side, and then the other side is their open side.
This one has a garage, but this one doesn't?
Right.
Is that right? Okay.
That's right, yeah. They have two kids. They put a big garage in. That's the house that we can go into around 1. Hopefully that doesn't be too late.
Yeah.
And see, that shows you the Irish Spring.
Oh, yeah, look at all them.
Now let's see if you'll be able to tell if it's been chewed on.
It looks like they've been chewed on. Yeah. They've been chewed on for sure, but this one, see, this is chewed on.
All right, so it's ineffective.
So it's ineffective. You see this? It's almost like a fairly clean cut. See? So they don't bite, they might not eat the whole thing.
Oh, because of the Irish Spring? So if I put a steak like this and put the Irish Spring on top.
I don't know. I think it might be.
She tried that right here.
Yeah,
I
actually.
can also see the deer go like,
This
I'll
is-
hold my breath for like a couple seconds.
Exactly. No, this is definitely deer browsed right here.
All right, well, I'll have to let her know.
And
That's
this is
sad.
a physocarpus?
I don't
It's a
know.
9 bark maybe? Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
completely plant ignorant.
And then this is I think these are dogwoods. See, deer love dogwoods. See, these are all eaten.
They
the
are,
tops.
okay, I have to let her know. She's out of the country right now.
These are fine though, because you actually want to cut your dogwoods back to get these red stems, but they will, during the winter, they will probably mow them all the way down. And again, this is the challenge that you have with native plants. It's
Hers is all native too. She went crazy. She's researched it.
I think the HOA is going to say we want a fence around the whole thing.
Oh God. Wow. Yeah.
What would that
Oh
take,
God.
Sue?
Oh, wait. That's another. That's crazy amount of money. Drilling all those holes?
Yeah. We had a little shell shock when we found out like the fence prices. We're like, ooh.
Let's see if this one's eaten just for shits and giggles.
So this one's enclosed. This one here.
She screened her porch in.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. Because
That's
for
really great. You can do that with this design.
yeah, it actually looks good. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
sometimes,
it's indistinguishable to some degree.
it doesn't look like it. But I don't know what kind of plant this is.
Yeah, so they're not as motivated for this one. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, if there's something better, then they'll eat the better thing. And they love, like this you could tell is really browsed. You see this? They ate all the leaves. They ate everything. Because why is it down here and not up here?
Right.
You know, so they ate all of this. They ate all the good tips. And
they
love
mostly
dogwood.
do it at night, don't they?
They do
must-
nighttime.
Now, is that an inculcation? Have they
Night-
figured out that we...
Yeah, you go to bed.
Or sleep.
They don't smell any humans. The humans are out during the morning.
You know, they've also figured out,
Red buds they don't
November.
like. These are native,
but they don't like them,
but they don't eat the red buds.
as evidenced by the robust nature of that plant. Yeah.
So it's funny because
She had an oak out here, I thought.
oaks are like deer food. Very hard to keep an oak. I don't know what this is.
It's very hard to keep an oak because they really like them?
Yeah, this one's definitely been eaten.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
It's decimated.
After the tour outlining the vision and the construction of Amabel with Sue, we paid a visit to some of the residents and toured their homes. First up was Diana, a retired restaurateur who moved to the Amabel neighborhood from New York City. You were just mentioning to me, like during the pandemic, you were feeling isolated in New York. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Wow, I mean, I, like everybody else, had to stay in my apartment. I went out to shop early and I bought enough food for 2 weeks at a time. And I didn't see any of my neighbors. Not that I knew that many of my neighbors. That's part of the problem.
Yeah.
In New York, you don't necessarily know everybody who lives in your apartment building.
I say that all the time. I said, isn't it so funny that we have neighbors who live miles down the road who come and see us?
Yes.
And I sometimes you don't even know the person who lives down the hall. Down the hall, yeah.
I knew the people on my floor, but not well enough to hang out with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt quite isolated during COVID. And I was looking out over the George Washington Bridge and at my computer one night, and I saw this ad on Zillow, which I would normally ignore, from Ithaca, and it showed what Amabel was going to be like, and I said, I think that's where I'm supposed to move.
That's amazing. So it was a little bit of a sign. Either that or the advertising was very good at targeting you.
Yeah, it was a sign. I had explored intentional communities in the area, and in Vermont, I had been looking at them, so it was in my mind. Mm-hmm. But I call this more like a semi-intentional community.
Yeah. Get the best of both worlds.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about the house. Like, so when you got here, was there even a house here, or?
Well, no, there was no house here.
Okay.
When I decided to do it, I think it was that night when I saw the ad, I sent an email to Sue, told her I wanted to come up to take a look at it, and at the property, and there was nothing here. There was this barn and her house. That was it.
And was the barn moved here, or was it still?
No, it was here.
Okay.
And
because she said she actually physically moved the barn, which I thought was really interesting.
wow, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
It was up towards like that house, and she had moved it there.
Wow. I didn't know. See, Sue is full of surprises.
Yeah.
She met with me in the little design cottage, and by the end of that visit, I said, I'm in.
Wow.
And nothing had been built yet.
Well, you are very decisive. Good for you.
Well, I can be.
Yeah.
Yes. And so then I waited a year. It was about a year it took. I moved in a year and 2 months after I signed the contract.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, that's a pretty fast, you know.
It felt,
yeah.
it was perfect. It really was.
And how do you feel about the space? How do you feel in here?
I love it here.
Yeah.
I feel very connected because the windows are so big, and I love that the porch is so low. Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorite things about the house. It has this rustic, modern feel to it. Somebody said to me, your New York City furniture, fits so well in here.
Yeah,
and,
because it still has some modern aspects to it,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I feel my challenge has been getting to know people in Ithaca.
Yeah.
But Ithaca is a very welcoming, friendly place, I have found.
And also the commons, like when you walk into the commons area, it's also has a little bit of a communal feel to it. There's like little community vibes, and the pocket, even though this is considered a pocket village, I feel like there's like pocket villages within pocket villages.
Yes.
Here.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
so someday I'll be looking at a community garden out here.
Yeah.
And that was also what got me, because I was a big gardener. And the other thing I liked is that I could have a pollinator garden.
That's what she was mentioning, because she's like, this woman is really into bees and birds. And I was like, oh my God, that's so me.
Yeah. The Dan Siegel from the Plantsman put this in.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it all filling in once the deer stop exploring it.
Yeah.
They came, they explored, they left.
Yeah. Well, then tell me a little bit more about the amenities of the house, like how it's designed. We'd love to kind of see.
Well, I love that I have an induction range. It's taken a little while to get used to it.
I mean, you're a restaurateur. You're probably so used to cooking on
gas.
Yeah.
It's not that big a difference. I mean, it's a big enough difference that I've had to adjust to it, but it heats things up beautifully.
Yeah, you've gotten to get to know it.
It sears things beautifully in a way that gas doesn't really do.
Yeah.
And to live with space.
It's a big kitchen, actually. Especially coming from New York, you're probably like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
Mansion feeling.
Yeah. I'm cooking dinner for friends for Wednesday night. I have friends coming.
Amazing.
So I'm going to be, and I'm making.
So friends from New York or friends from the local?
Friends from Wyoming, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. So you could host some folks here.
But I've hosted quite a few little Amabel dinners here with some of the people who live here, and I've gotten to know them. And that's what's the amazing thing, that I have friends here already that after 6 years in an apartment in Washington Heights, I had like a friend.
Yeah.
Everybody's invested in getting to know each other. Like that's part of the goal.
Well, even just talking with Sue, I just made this comment to her. You get a sense that she's not just a contractor. She's really thinking about interactivity and communication, and giving people enough privacy, but also giving them enough interaction so that people don't feel isolated and alone.
No, she's got a vision, and she said to me once that the thing that made her feel the best is when she looked out of her windows at night and saw lights on in all the houses.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
It is.
Yeah. And then you also mentioned like it being in the space too. It's like very energy efficient.
Oh, very. Yeah, that's all new for me.
Yeah. Because you came from a drafty New York apartment, right?
Yeah, or just too hot New York City apartment.
She had the type of apartments, the heater on, heater on, windows open. Came October, the heat was on, you had no thermostat.
Yeah. And so this is any temperature I want, I can get. I've never had central air conditioning, which is, so it felt nice this summer when it was really hot to be able to come into a cool space.
So you've been here for 4 seasons now? 4 full seasons?
I got here on February 22nd,
okay.
2022.
So almost a full year.
Almost a full year, yeah.
Well, happy anniversary in advance.
Thank you. Yeah, the fall. I'm looking forward to the fall color, which I haven't had that yet.
It's slowly coming in, but it's nearly here.
Yeah.
So can we take a
sure.
mosey around and peek through?
This is obviously the living room, and the mud room is here.
Oh, this is nice. Yeah, the little
But
mud
that's where
room.
the entrance door
Yeah,
is.
so that's the actual entrance.
Yep,
And you could put all your shoes in your washer dryer, very clean and
yep.
tidy and practical.
Here's one of the bathrooms. This room is a little, but I would need to vacuum, but it's a little bright in here right now. I got this red rug and I didn't really know, so I have, I'm figuring out what to do with
this
that.
is awesome light actually here. Even though you have the garage there,
yeah.
it still brings in some really beautiful light.
And this is my bedroom.
Oh wow, look at all the light flooding in here.
Yeah.
So this is kind of cool because you have you have homes that are close to you. You're gonna have another home right here.
Mm-hmm.
But just the way that the light comes through, you still have it angles in and you have a very, very bright space, compounded with the fact that the walls are lighter too,
Yep.
so it kind of reflects.
Yep,
And it's very spacious.
very, yes.
I mean, this is like more than enough, especially coming from New York. You're probably like, this is more than I ever thought I would need.
Yeah, I thought my bedroom was a little too big,
Yeah.
actually, but I've gotten used to it.
Yeah.
In New York, I slept on this. This
Oh,
was my
wow.
bed.
Like a day bed.
A day bed, yeah. That's how much space I had. I didn't really have enough room to have a double or a queen size bed.
Yeah. And how much square footage is this actually?
1,300 square feet.
Which is
yeah.
nice. That's very capacious. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, after coming from New York, I'm like, I don't know if I need anything over 1,000 square feet, but it's always nice to have a little bit more elbow room.
Yeah.
Especially if you're entertaining, if you're somebody who cooks,
Yeah.
you want to have like people within your kitchen space. But even the fact that they could spill out on that kind of protected, porch or patio is very nice.
I'm very happy. I couldn't be happier, in fact. And I even like all the construction activity.
Yeah, because
It's
just like,
interesting.
yeah. Well, you come from New York, you're like, where's the construction?
Right. And I'm getting to watch this. I mean,
Yeah.
they're getting ready to put another house in place.
But the funny thing is like it's actually very silent, even though there's all this construction happening
Right.
outside.
That's true.
Which
'cause
is funny.
All the banging happens elsewhere
Yeah,
in Pennsylvania.
yeah. Well, honestly, thank you so much for sharing your story and
Sure.
sharing your whole house here with us, and just like your transition from moving to New York to here. It's something that I think we understand as well, being that we also lived in New York for a little while.
The second tour we did was with Lisa, whose family purchased a larger unit at Amabel. She moved back to New York State after having lived in Austin, Texas with her husband and 2 sons.
Yeah, so my family moved here from Austin, Texas before the pandemic.
Right
and I grew
on.
up in Jamestown, New York. So that's about 3 hours west of here.
Okay.
And we were really looking to just move back closer to family. Ithaca just seemed like a place that would really fit with our lifestyle and the things that we value. So we moved here and we're renting in Lansing. One of the things that was interesting, we planned to buy, but the pandemic just made everything really complicated.
Yeah.
Amabel was sort of on our radar, we knew about it, but it seemed like it wasn't at a stage where Sue was really looking to build it out with our timeline. But then, we weren't close to our neighbors. We just thought we wanted to be part of a community that felt like a community. Talked to Sue, and that's how we kind of got here.
Right,
So,
right
yeah.
on. And you have 2 children.
I have 2 children.
You ended up going with a little bit more of sizable, room, right?
Right.
Because you have to cater to that, right?
Yeah, and so my husband works from home, so you'll see he has an office upstairs, which we've built out. I work from home once in a while, so we
Yeah.
have space for all that. But the kids took over the room behind you, which is also a guest room, and then
Yeah.
their bedrooms are downstairs.
Nice.
Yeah, but we honestly, having been here, we wouldn't change a thing. We worked with a designer who helped us do the floor plan, and it's just tons of space. If you start opening cupboards, I have empty cupboards because we just didn't have enough stuff.
That
which
was
is
one of
weird.
the things
Yeah.
that I felt like when we first got into our space. I was like, all these cupboards, what do I do with them?
Yeah, yeah.
But that's amazing to hear, even with having 2 children, you still have extra cupboard space. I
Yeah.
mean, even this is really sizable, this kind of common kitchen space as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
is it 3 floors? Because you said the kids are downstairs and it's
Oh,
kind of
we're
like this-
downstairs. Yep. So
Oh,
they're
okay.
back here. If you want to do a quick peek, all the rooms are huge. This is their play space.
Wow.
And guest room, so that's a pull-out sofa.
Yeah.
And then their bedrooms are
Somebody's
back
into
here.
Legos, Sonder. Missed
Yeah. Oh
that.
my gosh, big time. The closets are just Legoland.
That's a cool train.
Yeah.
Hogwarts
Sonder
train.
loves his Legos.
Yeah. So then, and we opted for only 2 bedrooms because I like personally don't believe any house needs 3 toilets to clean. So,
Right.
So that's the bedroom down here. This is my younger son's bedroom.
Oh yeah,
More
tons,
Legos.
tons
Yeah,
of
huge.
space.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have you seen these ones, Sonder?
No.
They're amazing.
Birds on Legos?
Wow.
No, but they like they're.
Oh, they move, huh?
Oh yeah, they flap their wings. And then my older son is in this room. So he's also a Lego guy.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, so and how do they respond to like being a little bit more in a community, even though like the community's not all here yet? Like it's gonna be 30 homes.
Yeah, no, they absolutely love it. So they love getting to know the neighbors, and sometimes I have to be like, okay, like let me text that person first. Don't just like show up and knock, So, but they really like being part of the community.
Yeah. That's cool. That's very good. I mean, and you're from this area, but they had to get basically, uprooted, right, from Austin, where their friends were.
Yeah,
So-
and we actually changed school districts again. So we went from Lansing last year. This year is their first year in. Cayuga Heights and Boynton.
Okay, so how was that transition for them? Do they seem to just weather the
Good.
storm pretty good?
Yeah, and so like they both are in sports, and that always helps like
Yeah.
make connections and make friends.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
And what do you like about the space? Considering you were mentioning like when the houses were coming in, you didn't expect that it was going to look like this, and then all of a sudden it's together, and you're like, ah.
Yeah, so I think the light is incredible here. The light is really nice. And then we're just looking forward to being outside a lot. Right now, the grounds aren't the way that they'll eventually end up. But one thing that's really nice, and this was intentional when we were looking at the place, is that like we didn't want to spend our weekends fixing old houses or doing a ton of yard work. Like we wanted to be able to do the things we enjoy as a family. So it's been really nice to just feel like our weekends are our weekends. And just like all the details, they picked like really nice wood for the stairs and everything else. But this was the custom.
Oh yeah,
part
that's
that
nice
we
with the
did.
bookshelf.
Yeah, so this is like our reading space. My husband works up here.
This is very nice. And then is this kind of like another
Yeah,
bedroom?
go ahead. This is our master suite.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, so it's big, and we just did a bathroom over here.
So the layout wasn't really set up here, is what you're saying?
No, and so we
Okay.
opted for the dormer where you all are standing right now. So
Yeah.
that added a little more square feet so that I could have an office and studio space.
Right.
So
Amazing. Also, it feels like you're more of a minimalist. You have
Yeah.
a more minimalist approach to your like decor and everything. Keep it simple.
yeah,
Even
not a lot
with,
extra
even with
stuff.
your children's room, it's like very simple
Yeah.
and simplified. Amazing.
The Amabel Pocket Neighborhood, as you could see, is still underway. At the time of filming this video with Sue, 8 more units within the neighborhood are still available. So we'll be following along on the progress and look forward to seeing how the community garden area comes together. If you're enjoying these videos, we'd love for you to give them a thumbs up and join us by hitting that subscribe and notifications bell. And tipping the channel is most appreciated. Your views and support really make a difference, as 10% of our Google AdSense proceeds get reinvested back into the community here. And that's actually matched by our partners over at Espoma Organic. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next video.